Thank you for joining the Transition Doula, and the Transition Doula that asks for a bit of explanation almost. It's like, where does that come from? How suddenly is this appearing on the horizon? And it was given to me to do that. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. It was not just that this came to me, but more like it opened so much when I heard it that I had like, oh yes, of course. Oh yeah. And what really spoke to me is the idea of death doula, birth doula. It's in fact the job, so to speak, the job that I've had for a very long time, even though I didn't know it myself. And it started for me in nursing school, in going through nursing and all this practice, all this taking care of the ones that were in transition, for instance. And that became very specific in the sense that I stayed for longer periods with people that I took care of and that I nursed. And that is an interesting discovery to see if you're not afraid of death, which was something that I had, like I already went through that before and I got rid of that, or that disappeared. It was great to be with the ones that were in transition because I did not have that fear of death or going through episodes in which you, in fact, let go of the world, let go of your ideas, let go of your identity. So as an awakened mind, that was something that, I was already given. Now, it doesn't mean that then your life stops or your existence stops. No, you're being guided to exactly the places where you want to go, coming into in contact with whoever is giving you, in fact, and seeing that in, you could call it like an undercover nurse. Because I had a different mission, but I had all the papers for being a nurse, and here we go. So meeting people that were in transition, I saw that my experiences were very helpful and very supportive to the ones that wanted to be at peace in this transition. That was the main goal. Nursing in itself is not being a death doula, but in fact you distance yourself from the direct care of a person, but you come into being present in the processes that are taking place. So you stand, say, a step away from the practical taking care of persons, but it doesn't necessarily exclude it either. Now we can tell you all kinds of stories because they are coming up now, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, that was so beautiful, and look at this and that. And I will do that, but not right away. So I want to keep track in where we start this. The transition, you can expand to your awakening. It can expand to having moments of ascension, and it can expand to moments of resurrection as a practice. And I've been in that practice for a long time. And so that is another part of it. And it's amazing. It's like that's another part of that. So that's also very useful. So that when I started coming into the idea of being a guide during transition periods, and being a guide is really like receiving it, getting out of the way sufficiently so that you can be supportive and are being used for whatever needs to occur in order to establish peace or to bring peace in experience. You see that this is so individual, depending on where you are in your development, in the sense, in the vertical ladder of stepping out of time, stepping out of form, stepping out of your attachment to this three-dimensional place or human existence. Now, that field we know very well, with the ones that are here are very familiar with that, and so that's why we in fact enter into this to a certain sense in a very high degree of recognition, and that makes it even more exciting to me because of the possibilities of discovering on that level of recognition. So that sounds still very abstract, I know. So I hope to sink down into the practicality, because this is your personal experience too. Now here we are with you having relatives, with you having relationships, with you having an idea about yourself as a physical body, as a timely being, and that opens up a whole new field of experience that we include in this too. So it's like, now it's not just recognizing that you're not a body. No, it's like we're going to include the body totally in a way that it can become free. In fact, you can become free of that. You can become free of that body, but that is not necessarily the purpose. No, you can become free of the whole dream, in fact. That's what awakening is. So, taking steps in the direction, safety, love, comfort, light. These are the building blocks here, but these are recognitions. So it's like there's nothing really to build because it is recognition. Now, there will be time for this recognition. That can be in musical moments, that can be in moments of quiet. It can be doing a meditation or contemplation, like we're going to start one in a moment. And that is really, really beautiful. It is a lesson of A Course in Miracles, but the guidance of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the guidance in this specific lesson is so beautiful, and that you can easily come into an experience with that. Like that's absolutely the purpose of it. That being said, also the parts that are in this lesson are something that we're going to take a look at a little bit later, because they have everything to do with transition. They have everything to do with the place where you find yourself in this moment and where you will transition into. In fact, it is a kickoff of a new mission for you, and that is exactly the right time for that. Otherwise it would not happen. So this is all completely given. It came to me, and this is for you to receive, for me to receive with you. And so we're going to start now with this lesson 157, and it's called Into Your Presence I Would Enter Now. Lesson 157 of A Course in Miracles. Into His presence would I enter now. This is a day of silence and of trust. It is a special time of promise in your calendar of days. It is a time which heaven has set apart to shine upon, and cast a timeless light upon this day when echoes of eternity are heard. This day is holy, for it ushers in a new experience, a different kind of feeling and awareness. You have spent long days and nights in celebrating death. Today you learn to feel the joy of life. This is another crucial turning point in the curriculum. We add a new dimension now, a fresh experience which sheds a light on all that we have learned already, and prepares us for what we have yet to learn. It brings us to the door where learning ceases, and we catch a glimpse of what lies past the highest reaches it can possibly attain. It leaves us there an instant, and we go beyond it, sure of our direction and our only goal. Today it will be given you to feel a touch of heaven, though you will return to paths of learning. Yet you have come far enough along the way to alter time sufficiently to rise above its laws and walk into eternity a while. This you will learn to do increasingly as every lesson faithfully rehearsed brings you more swiftly to this holy place and leaves you for a moment to yourself. He will direct your practicing today, for what you ask for now is what he wills. And having joined your will with his this day, what you are asking must be given you. Nothing is needed but today's idea to light your mind, and let it rest in still anticipation and in quiet joy, wherein you quickly leave the world behind. From this day forth your ministry takes on a genuine devotion, and a glow that travels from your fingertips to those you touch, and blesses those you look upon. A vision reaches everyone you meet, and everyone you think of, or who thinks of you. For your experience today will so transform your mind that it becomes the touchstone for your holy thoughts of God. Your body will be sanctified today, its only purpose being now to bring the vision of what you experience this day to light the world. We cannot give experience like this directly, yet it leaves a vision in our eyes which we can offer everyone, that he may come the sooner to the same experience in which the world is quietly forgot, and heaven is remembered for a while. As this experience increases and all goals but this become of little worth, the world to which you will return becomes a little closer to the end of time, a little more like heaven in its ways, a little nearer its deliverance. And you who bring it light will come to see the light more sure, the vision more distinct. The time will come when you will not return in the same form in which you now appear, for you will have no need of it. Yet now it has a purpose and will serve it well. Today we will embark upon a course that you have not dreamed of, but the Holy One, the giver of the happy dreams of life, translator of perception into truth, the holy guide to heaven given you, has dreamed for you this journey, which you make and start today with the experience this day holds out to you to be your own. Into Christ's presence will I enter now, serenely unaware of everything except his shining face and perfect love. The vision of his face will stay with you, but there will be an instant which transcends all vision, even this, the holiest. This you will never teach, for you attained it not through learning. Yet the vision speaks of your remembrance of what you knew that instant, and will surely know again. Okay, thank you so much for joining. So this was a moment of entering into his presence, becoming still, as we call it, and essential. So there were some parts in it. I'm not going to go through the whole lesson, but it's like there's some parts in it. You can find it back in the syllabus that I'm that I'm developing and that I send on a weekly basis, more like another chapter with it. There are some parts of the text that I took out because they have everything to do with what is possible here in the new discovery of you as a transition doula, you could say, as one who serves that process, whether in itself or whether giving that to others. Like in that sense, it is also a teaching, and it's a practitioner training. That sounds always great, as if you're going to achieve something, and there's certainly achievements in the sense of allowing yourself to be relinquished, in the sense of self-identity, discovering that your open consciousness is expanding and you can actually give that or shine that in your brother's mind. And so that is the practice, and that is your practitionership. But the first requirement is that you receive that for yourself. And to practice that, you need to have a lot of, in fact, trust, safety, sense of safety, but also openness that it is a possibility for that to happen. Otherwise, your consciousness is closed. It's like, or your mind is closed. Your consciousness is there, but your mind is closed. When it's open, it is in fact fulfilling its function and being open. If you are thinking, then you're, in fact, closing it down and focusing it on a contraction, on a limitation. And so expanding it again, losing it, opening it up for light and love, then you can receive. Then you can, receive guidance. You can be in communication. You can receive light and love. Now, you all know this, and this is just another opportunity. It's another opportunity to come into a different way of achieving that, being in communication with one another. So that's that part. So I'm, like I said before, I wanted to go into the lesson, but I'm not going to do that. So that's in the book. You can read it in the syllabus. And so the next part that I want to introduce is the idea of death, since we're talking about transition doula. So what is actually death then? So to bring that back into a proper alignment, it is good to have this very clear. And so that's why I chose a part from the teacher's manual from A Course in Miracles, since that is so directly written to you and so clear, that I would love to use that as like this is in fact the definition that we use here, the way that we look at it, in order to come to total expansion, rather than I don't know, a more human approach, you could say. Like, that's not what we're looking for. Is this applicable to any situation, human or not? Yes, absolutely. So that's why I'm going to show this to you, or you're going to listen to it. It's another 5 minutes, but it's really worth it, in the sense that it puts right in place all the parts that are related to the idea of death and life. So it's like, the more clear I can't find it. It is, to me, like so beautiful to read this. And so that's what I'm going to share with you right now. And so that's another listening moment. And we will get in action. We will exchange with one another. And we also will present, some of us send in a presentation. And we're definitely also going to take a look at that. But here first, the what is death episode from the teacher's manual. From the Manual for Teachers, Vortex, the Course in Miracles, 28. What is death? Death is the central dream from which all illusions stem. Is it not madness to think of life as being born, aging, losing vitality and dying in the end? We have asked this question before, but now we need to consider it still more carefully. It is the one fixed, unchangeable belief of the world that all things in it are born only to die. This is regarded as the way of nature, not to be raised to question, but to be accepted as the natural law of life. This cyclical, the changing and unsure, the undependable and the unsteady, waxing and waning in a certain way upon the certain path, all this is taken as the will of God, and no one asks if a benign creator would will this. In this perception of the universe as God created it, it would not be possible to think of him as loving, for who decreed that all things pass away, ending in dust and disappointment and despair, can but be feared. He holds your little life in his hand but by a thread, ready to break it off, without regret or care perhaps today. Or if he waits, yet is the ending certain. Who loves such a God knows not of love, because he has denied that life is real. Death has become life's symbol. His world is now a battleground, where contradiction reigns and opposites make endless war. Where there is death, is peace impossible. Death is the symbol of the fear of God. His love is blotted out in the idea which holds it from awareness like a shield held to obscure the sun. The grimness of the symbol is enough to show it cannot coexist with God. It holds an image of the Son of God in which he is laid to rest, in devastation's arms where worms await to greet him, to last a little while by his destruction. Yet the worms as well are doomed to be destroyed as certainly, and so do all things live because of death. Deferring is nature's law of life. God is insane and fear alone is real. The curious belief that there is a part of dying things that may go on apart from what will die does not proclaim a loving God, nor re-establish any grounds for trust. If death is real for anything, there is no life. Death denies life. But if there is reality in life, death is denied. No compromise in this is possible. There is either a God of fear or one of love. The world attempts 1,000 compromises and will attempt 1,000 more. Not one can be acceptable to God's teachers, because not one could be acceptable to God. He did not make death because he did not make fear. Both are equally meaningless to him. The reality of death is firmly rooted in the belief that God's Son is a body. And if God created bodies, death would indeed be real. But God would not be loving. There is no point at which the contrast between perception of the real world and that of the world of illusions becomes more sharply evident. Death is indeed the death of God, if he is love, and now his own creation must stand in fear of him. He is not father, but destroyer. He is not creator, but avenger. Terrible his thoughts, and fearful his image. To look on his creation is to die. And the last to be overcome will be death. Of course, without the idea of death there is no world. All dreams will end in this one. This is salvation's final goal, the end of all illusions. And in death are all illusions born. What can be born of death and still have life? But what is born of God and still can die? The inconsistencies, the compromises, and the rituals the world fosters, its vain attempts to cling to death and yet to think love real as mindless magic, ineffectual and meaningless. God is, and in him all created things must be eternal. Do you not see that otherwise he has an opposite, and fear would be as real as love? Teacher of God, your assignment could be stated thus: accept no compromise in which death plays a part. Do not believe in cruelty, nor let attack conceal the truth from you. What seems to die has been misperceived and carried to illusion. Now it becomes your task to let the illusion be carried to truth. Be steadfast, but in this, be not deceived in the reality of any changing form. Truth neither moves nor wavers nor sinks down to death and dissolution. And what is the end of death? Nothing but this, the realization that the Son of God is guiltless now and forever. Nothing but this. But do not let yourself forget it is not less than this. I thought that was so incredibly clear that I had to share it with you. And I understand if this is like kind of overwhelming to you, because it's like, what? What is this? But you catch it, you will recognize it, and it's great to study it in that sense, or to let it come to you and repeat it a couple of times or read it now and then. So it's like you see what's occurring in this. It's now already pretty clear. It's like there's so much clarity to give, to discover for yourself, that this is a great journey, specifically with the idea of death or transition. Let's use the word transition, because death is really not where we're acting out on, but still it's you can always translate it into a rebirth or a death and then a birth, or an episode of dying in your humanhood, as Joel Goldsmith would say it. And like all these expressions are to a certain extent useful, but it's always temporary. So here we go, we move along, we take another step here. This is what I want to introduce to you. It's like we take another step. We go, in fact, we look at this in a different way. We don't know exactly how that looks, but we're open to receive that together. Now I thought these two that I just shared with you, like into his presence I would enter now, is really like, okay, this is my reality, this is my identity. Not that I have to make that. No, when I'm entering into his presence, it becomes clear who I am. And the same with what is death. It's like now it's very clear what death is. And also that has no, in that sense, no attraction. And no, it's no part of you, in the true sense of you. It might still have a part in your idea about yourself, and that's fine too. So we're not going to deny that. We're actually going to include that completely, because your experience of this is where the starting point is. Now, I can come up with beautiful ideas, but here you are in your own experience of this, and this is your starting point. This is also what you're going to recognize with your body, with your transition body, as we're going to introduce each other to that. Now, the transition body in this specific series is then you got to see it like this. It's like your partner in discovering a new way of communication together. And this new way of communication is in fact allowing something new to occur, also in taking actually a moment to be quiet together. So when we meet, when you come together, like maybe it's 15 minutes that you talk to one another or that you are with one another, at least use 5 to be quiet together and come to an openness to communicate together, in the sense of keep your mind open and see what happens, and enjoying that quiet time, or going into that quiet time, however it looks. That's important. That's an important part of this series, because you will have a body. Concluding for now this introduction, it's like we have 8 meetings that we come together. We take steps. Like, okay, now it's like, okay, what is this transition doula? What actually is that? So I said it a little bit, but I didn't say much about it yet. So we'll continue next week with that too. Now I already started sharing something. What is death? Like, okay, death is different than I thought it was. It's like, oh, now I will receive a different vision about that too. And so, in other words, this is transformative, what we're doing here. It's not establishing yourself as this or that. No, it's opening up to receive something new that is going to be so helpful to you and to whoever you meet, and it directly puts you in the place where you can in fact open up to grow the certainty that is true about you. And what I mean then with that is more like you. It becomes clear that the light and the love is within you, and like everything starts with you. From you, it goes out. Like you're literally the instrument. So it's like in your practitionership, you're the center of it. It extends from you. By you receiving it, you give it to your brother. But then also coming back to this certainty of that is so. You can be distracted for a moment, but you come back to this and start to extend from there again. It's like loving God with all of your heart, you could say. And seeing how that communicates with the ones around you. All right, so that's at least a part of it that I love to share.